Welcome back. From the Maryland cargo ship collision to the Alaska Airlines door incident, when transportation accidents happen, there's a federal agency that investigates to find the cause. When it comes to plane crashes, critics say there's a problem.
They don't have the money or the manpower to examine every site. National investigative reporter Joyce Durbin digs into why the independent agency in charge often leaves the initial on-site work to another group that comes under fire.
When disaster strikes on the rails, the road, in the water, and in the air, it's investigators with the NTSB who are tasked with figuring out what went wrong. The National Transportation Safety Board, created as an independent watchdog deliberately separate from the FAA and charged by Congress to investigate every aviation accident in America. But as it balances budget and staffing challenges, our National Investigative Team discovered the NTSB is often MIA from a critical piece of crash investigations, the on-scene response.
I couldn't believe it.
On October 2nd, 2020, Ellen Sturm was supposed to be hosting a birthday party with her longtime love, Steve Barnes. Before it even got started, a plane crash had her planning his funeral.
Everything okay up there?
Barnes, a prominent attorney and pilot, was killed along with his niece when his private plane crashed near Buffalo.
It's just like the two brightest lights extinguished.
The crash, by law, automatically igniting a federal investigation by the NTSB. But although the agency was at the helm, it wasn't on the ground. So the on-site investigation duties were left to the FAA, which did respond in person.
It felt like nobody really cared enough to really look into what happened.
Our National Investigative Team discovered arm's-length investigations are a fairly common practice for the NTSB, even in cases where people are killed. With help from our partners at the Arnold Center for Investigative Journalism at Indiana University, we analyzed data from the agency's accident reports dating back to 2015. Our team found NTSB investigators didn't respond on scene to an average of at least 21% of fatal aircraft crashes each year, relying on FAA investigators to be their eyes and ears on the ground. Some reports outlined a clear reason for investigators not to go. Things like pilot suicides, crashes into the ocean, or remote dangerous terrain that made examining wreckage impossible. Others had witnesses, video, or radio recordings that gave the NTSB solid leads on a potential cause without seeing the scene. But that's not always the case.
I think most people, if they looked at this picture as a whole, would say the problem is not at the NTSB, it's not at the FAA. It rests with the people who allocate the resources for the job that they want done.
Resources are a real challenge. The FAA has more than 40,000 employees. The NTSB, about 400, with only about 50 on-scene investigators. So it has to make strategic decisions about whether another party, like the FAA, can handle the scene.
We'll have a direct contact with the investigator that goes, and it will be a collaborative effort of deciding what to do.
But it's that collaboration that has some critics sounding alarms about the NTSB and FAA being too close for comfort. The FAA has its own mission, along with a growing list of questions to answer about oversight in the wake of the Boeing scandals and Alaska Airlines door incident.
Right now, there's no faith in the system.
For Ellen Sturm, it's a system that has failed to deliver answers for her family. The cause of the crash that killed Steve and Liz Barnes is still a mystery, listed as a failure to maintain control for undetermined reasons.
Why did it drop from the sky? I still don't feel like I know. Wow, our national team spent months contacting congressional leaders and key transportation leaders to discuss those findings and the need for additional NTSB funding. None agreed to an interview.